punch me in the head until I have brain damage so I can train this bum. This is Filmshake, the 90s Movies Podcast. I'm Jordan.
And this is Nick.
And this is episode 94. We'll be covering Nick's picks, Rocky V, and our punishment film, which, Nick, remind me and the listeners, who lost the trivia battle last time?
I don't even remember.
I don't know.
It was you.
At this point, it doesn't matter.
You lost.
We just both watch these terrible movies each time and try and pair them up with our main movie. But let's just say you lost, for the sake of my
Yeah, sure, Jordan, I lost.
Okay. Well, you want to tell us about the punishment movie for this time before we get into our main review?
Yes, and also, any of our listeners who've seen both of these films is going to say, wait a minute, your main movie is Rocky V, but the punishment was 1990's Lionheart?
He's playing for keeps. But now, he's facing the ultimate challenge.
That's him, a born killer, not some bum we picked off the street.
Well, this dude's already bad, they ain't bodies. I'll beat the guy, I have to. The rules are simple.
There's no rules.
The stakes are high.
What I did tonight, I did for my family.
You win. You live.
Now what's it gonna be?
You lose. You die.
It's going to be simple.
Van Damme is Lionheart.
Right. I mean, you kind of did that as a boon for both of us in case we didn't jive with Rocky V. I've got a lot of things to say about that, but yeah, Lionheart was just kind of like an added bonus in a way, not even a punishment.
Yeah, I've seen most of Van Damme's early work. TBS had them on a loop for a little while in the mid-90s. And I remember this one was really high up there. I didn't like it as much as Kickboxer, which is my gold standard for Van Damme, even though that itself is kind of a knockoff of Rocky IV in a way. I really like Kickboxer. I don't know why. And I watched all the sequels for that too.
To be completely honest, I don't know if I've ever watched Kickboxer.
Oh, you don't know about Tong Po?
I don't know about Tong Po.
All right, you got to watch Kickboxer, Jordan.
I do. I need to watch Kickboxer and Bloodsport. I have the Bloodsport VHS tape just like burning a hole in my shelf.
I also enjoy Bloodsport. Van Damme is an interesting character. He's someone who made... The further you get into the 90s, the worse his movies get.
Yes.
He was never someone who was going to make great films.
Well, I read a quote from him that was like, I'm pretty sure it's impossible for me to make a bad movie, is something he said, apparently, which is pretty funny.
Yes, but how much cocaine did he snort before he said that?
Probably all the cocaine. But you're right, like late 90s, just basically after 95, just tapers off into straight to video obscurity. But I was looking at his filmography, and late 80s to like the mid 90s, this dude's pretty golden. Like he just like has banger after banger if you're into this kind of stuff. The B movie action schlock, you know?
That's what I found whenever his stuff would always be on TBS is generally if I watch his movies from this time period, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to have a good time. Even if the movie isn't great, I'm going to have a good time. And Lionheart, not a great film, but I'll go so far as to say Lionheart is not a bad film, Jordan.
No, it's not. No, I quite enjoyed Lionheart.
I think this is actually my second favorite Van Damme behind Kickboxer. It's definitely the movie that Van Damme, he co-wrote it. He wanted to show his acting chops, his softer side, Jordan. And you can tell in this movie, he's got that baby face going. He's got that that soft light on his face is always shining to give him this more angelic look.
So much of a baby face that one of his opponents says like a very famous line.
You're kind of pretty. I don't know if I want to fight you. Well, fuck you.
which is like so over the top and ridiculous, but like only you would find that in this kind of Jean-Claude Van Damme movie.
Yeah,
so good.
He was kind of known as a pretty boy martial artist, and he really leaned into that with this film. And I know among Van Damme's female fans, this is a favorite because it shows his more emotional side.
And his ass.
Yes.
But that's like every Van Damme movie, right? Like, he seems to be pretty open to just like full nudity from behind.
Right. And I mean, not to get too crass here, but I had only watched this on TBS, and I watched the regular version of it, not the TV version. And I was really hoping, like, man, come on, Deborah Renard. How about some quid pro quo? Like Van Damme showed his, but she doesn't.
What you got, lady? I mean, she is in some quite sultry lingerie at different points. So
she is a lot. And that, I think your mileage will vary when it comes to how attractive she is in this film. But for me, I was into it.
Did you think like she was very attractive at the beginning, but then as she got more villainous, it's not that they even shot her different, but I don't know. It was something about like the angles or something made her face like really like gooey and weird. I don't know. She just looked like, I don't know, a little bit more flabby or something by the end of this movie. It's just weird.
I don't know if I'd use the term flabby.
Well, like in her chin, there was like a particular shot of like her, I guess maybe she was like had a double chin or something due to her head being tilted down or something. I was like, oh man, that's a bad angle for her. But she's also supposed to be like a total bitch at this point, so I guess it works.
Right. So the simple plot of this movie is that Van Damme is in the Foreign Legion and his brother is back in America. And there's lots of babes in this movie. He's married to this red-haired babe. And he goes and dies on her because of a bad drug deal.
Set on fire, right?
Right.
By some drug dealer dudes.
Right.
Like the first scene of the movie.
Right. And if you watch Growing Pains, as I did, his niece, his brother's now fatherless daughter is Chrissy Seaver from Growing Pains, but this is before that.
So I knew I recognized her from something. Yeah.
That's right. So this is her first role as a cute little kid who can act pretty well. And she ended up having quite a career.
Yeah. Ashley Johnson, who plays little girl Nicole.
That's right.
Yeah. Like introducing Ashley Johnson, her first movie, basically.
Right. So Van Damme's got to bust out of the North African desert, get away from the French Legionnaires, and get to America, to L.A., to do all these fight tournaments to win money to help support his brother's widow and his niece. She doesn't want the support, so he's got to do it in secret. And this, again, plays into the sensitive side of Van Damme. Again, this is one of the reasons that this has been cited among his female fans as a favorite. And also, I'll just throw this out here, Jordan. Van Damme's not like a great actor, but he's a better actor than most of the other people who you would put him in a boat with, right? Like, much better actor than Steven Seagal. I think much better actor than Chuck Norris. And, we made fun of Arnie when he had to cry at the end of Days.
This is true. I
actually think Van Damme can do that stuff better than Arnie. He doesn't have the charisma or like the insane star factor that Arnie has. Yeah. But I think he's probably a better actor than Arnie.
Yeah, there's a moment here when he gets back from escaping the Legionnaire. Quick side note, I thought it was interesting that later he's in a movie called Legionnaire, playing a Legionnaire when he was one in this movie too. But I never saw that movie. But, watched this and saw that once he gets back and he notices, he goes to the hospital and sees that his brother has died from his burns from like being set on fire by the drug dealers. He has like a quiet moment where he's like looking off into the distance crying, and you really buy it. Like, yeah, I think his acting in this is pretty top notch for an action star.
Yeah, I thought he was quite good. And it's his sister-in-law, played by Elisa Pelican, just does not accept, even though this whole movie, it's like Van Damme is just the best guy. He's just the best guy. He took the fall for his brother when they were younger even, and he says quite poignantly, however horribly worded, he was not strong enough to have been in jail about his brother.
So he took the fall, and is that how he ended up in the Legionnaire?
I think so. So he's just like the most decent guy. And another thing, too, I should throw out about Van Damme. Seagal famously had his contract that he could not be hit. And that was just one of many reasons that made Seagal so hateable throughout his career.
Yeah, I hate Seagal.
Right. Like, pretty much everyone does, unless they like him ironically. But
right.
Van Damme always took a pretty good beating. He takes lots of hits this movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that really sells it, too, and, like, brings you in, I feel like. I mean, just like we're going to get into Rocky, where, like, any good movie where you feel like your hero is down and out and, you know, on the outs or, you know, getting the crap kicked out of him. He's got to have a comeback in some way. Like, that's always going to sell me on a movie like this and draw me in. Now, as far as him being like he's definitely a decent guy. We see that, you know, as the movie progresses, but you kind of wonder about that, I think, in the opening segment where he's breaking out of the Legionnaire base or whatever. He's like beating the shit out of all these guys. He stabs one guy in the hand, you know, he's like mouthing off to his superior. They're about to throw him in the box or whatever. So he just goes AWOL. And then that reminds me that this movie was released under like 5 different names, depending on where it was released.
Yes.
So you got Lionheart, you got AWOL, which is absent without leave. You got Full Contact, and then you have Wrong Bet, which is a pretty badass name. I would think, like up there with Lionheart.
What country was Wrong Bet in?
I don't know offhand.
I'm just going to guess it was Awesome-Bekistan.
Awesome-Bekistan. Yeah, pretty sure. That's like, you know, one of his final one-liners at like the climactic fight. We have to mention Harrison Page, who's like his buddy in this. He's his manager that basically is like running these street fights in New York when he gets there off the boat, takes him in and shows him the ropes, introduces him to the lady who's running like this underground fight syndicate. And Harrison Page, man, just like so much charisma. I just wanted to go watch like a bunch of his movies and TV shows after this, because he's just wisecracking and like dropping the MF'er like every 5 seconds. And just like, I love when they're walking down the street and like this car is coming at him and he's just like, hey, hold on, goddamn car, like, motherfucker. It's just like, he does it all so naturally, you know. It's like, it could be a really bad stereotype of like this older streetwise black guy, but like he just sells it. He's great at this. He's so fun.
He said he was just channeling his father. He's not like this in a lot of the other things that he plays in, but he said, I just played my dad, basically.
That's awesome. Well, he played it damn well, sir.
He's so good, but again, like to get to, well, I'll get to the final sequence in a second. Just to rattle off the other characters. We talked about Deborah Renard in here. She's the 8-foot-tall Amazonian blonde who is setting all these fights up. She's very rich. She really wants to have
8 feet. She's not that tall, huh?
I don't know. She seems really tall.
She's tall lady. Yeah.
She has really long legs, and Van Damme's not that tall. And she really wants to have sex with Van Damme too. Like she really wants to get it on with him.
She like travels from New York to Los Angeles and then just like puts him up in this rich hotel and like, you know, just wanting to bone him so bad.
Yeah, because it's her hotel and she puts him up in her room. And
that's right.
To his credit, I'm with you. She's in all this lingerie early in and all this really sexy 80s aerobic attire, like making sure that she takes all his clothes off when he gets knocked out. Say he wakes up naked and she's working out in her aerobics gear right in front of him when he wakes up.
Yeah.
To make sure she'll like double his morning wood. But he resists.
Yeah, that was my biggest question was like, does he not get out of the bed when he's like trying to get up because he's naked or because he has morning wood?
I thought it was both because
it was both. It was definitely both.
Right. Yeah. Because he looks under the covers to double check. Like, I'm definitely not getting that.
Shit. Yeah. Never mind.
He's just really thinking biblically about his brother's widow. He's like, I gotta live my life for her now. Like, you know, I might end up having to marry her eventually. So I'm gonna, I can't sleep with this really, really sexy, tall blonde lady. I gotta hold out for the hot redhead whose last name is Pelican in real life, which is kind of a weird last name.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I agree too. She starts wearing like harsher clothing and they start getting like harsher angles of Deborah Renard because she's wearing all this sexy stuff early on, and then she starts wearing like almost like snake scales later on. Like she's got like this bejeweled outfit later where she looks like some kind of dangerous, like going back to the Amazonian thing.
She's got like Cruella de Vil vibes or something.
Right. Like in nature, it'd be like, this is a poisonous animal. Stay away. If you try to eat her, you're going to die.
That's right. No pun intended.
No pun intended. And then you got Brian Thompson Jordan, who is like her sidekick, who he just really plays up to the material. Like horrible in the awful Mortal Kombat Annihilation is Shao Kahn.
Shao Kahn. Yeah, dude. Just horrible in that movie, but he's in a lot of fun 80s stuff. Like he's one of the punks in the Terminator. He plays the Night Slasher in Cobra, to give a Stallone connection there.
Right, and he's great as the alien bounty hunter throughout the X-Files. I love him in that, and he's a lot of fun here. He doesn't really get to do a lot.
Yeah, I kind of wish he had a legitimate fight with Van Damme. Like he saves Van Damme at one point, and then he gets like kicked in the face by Van Damme at the end, but that's basically it. And I like that Van Damme constantly has these two Legionnaires tracking after him, who he eventually wins over, like in a Rocky movie, how Rocky will win over the hostile crowd. A little far-fetched, but I mean, that's cool. I'm glad that those guys turned out to be decent in the end, you know? And their superior was just like a total a-hole, because this dude's like brother was set on fire. Shouldn't he get to go like, you know, pay his respects and stuff? Right, dude, right. And then you get to the final fight where like they're there in attendance. And I love all the setups for the fights in this movie where you have one fight that's in like a half-filled swimming pool on like a big mountain in Los Angeles. You've got one where all these cars make up the fighting ring and their headlights are all on, shining into the middle. It's really cool. Yeah, really, I remembered the imagery of the parking garage fight from the beginning when he first meets Deborah Renard and punches the dude in the junk, like as like the first moment of this fight. I remember watching this like on TV or like with some friends or something when I was, you know, really young in the 90s, and like that whole underground parking garage, like fighting illegally in the dark at night vibe really stuck with me. Yeah. Yeah, all those setups are really fun, and he's basically in like a circus tent for this last fight. But I love the setup here where he has a broken rib, and he's got to fight this gigantic mountain of a man. Attila the Hun, where there's video of this guy basically breaking this other guy like a wishbone. Right. He just grabs his legs and like rips them apart. I like it was a nice use of the VHS tape that she had of Attila when she like goes to try and convince these other guys to bet on Van Damme because she's going to bet on Attila. And like the VHS tape like wigs out like right before he rips the dude in half. So they're just like, oh yeah, this dude's not so great because he likes to play with his opponents and like he likes to get beat the crap out of before he just rips them apart. Exactly right, because she wants the bets to all go toward Van Damme so she can bet heavily on Attila. But man, the emotions at the end of this movie are kind of surprising because Harrison Page's character, he's worried about Van Damme. He doesn't want him to fight because of the rib, because he genuinely cares about Van Damme. But then he knows that Attila could break him in half. And then also he's kind of a gambling addict. So he goes and changes his bet to Attila. And then you get into the fight and Van Damme does the thing that on all the Attila fights where he kind of beats him up a little bit. And then Attila is like, okay, my turn. And then beats the hell out of Van Damme. And Van Damme's all bloody and it seems like he's about to kill him. And then Harrison Page is like, stay down, man. He's going to kill you. And at first it's like, well, he's just saying that because he wants to win the money because he bet on Attila. Right. But then it's like, wait, he really does not want Van Damme to die. And then he just straight up tells Van Damme like, look, man, I put all the money on Attila. I'm sorry. Right, and then Van Damme gets so pissed. It gives him the anger to win the fight. Well, and that's where he has his famous, you know, one-liner where they got one of the titles from.
It's on him, man. The whole bet's on Attila.
Wrong bet.
And then he gets up and just like, of course, just takes control of the fight and kicks the shit out of Attila.
Yes.
Literally kicking the shit out of him, because that's what, like, he brings in the legs and just, like, kicks him over and over in the face.
Yes, and if you want, like, fast-paced, highly technical fights, this movie does not have them. It's a lot of, like, I'm gonna punch you, and then...
I'm gonna stand still while you punch me in the face 5 times.
Exactly, and one of the funniest things in late 80s and early 90s cinema is Van Damme's reactions to hitting people. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, like, he's just so... You're just, like, really into it and excited about it?
Yeah, like, there'll always be a shot of his face, or, like, a medium shot of him, like, oh, yeah, I did it, I hit someone. It's great.
Well, then there's, like, the rapid cutting, too, where it's just, like, punch, and then cut to a different angle, punch, and then cut to a different angle, punch. It's just, like, this kind of frenetic, like, over and over and over again. So it's not like you're actually watching like a widescreen shot of a full fight. You're just watching, like, a bunch of clips of punches, like, edited together. But it's still really fun. Like, I love it.
Yeah, it's still fun. It's still fun. As long as you're not expecting, like, Jackie Chan from this time period, it's a lot of fun. And I love, after the fight is over and he's won, which I think they could have been a little more clear that Van Damme also had his own money on the fight on himself, and that Harrison Page didn't bet, like, all their money. Yeah. Because it was like a $12 million purse there. And I thought, like, the first time I watched it, like, oh crap, he's not going to get any money for winning now. Like, he needs to lose so he can win. But that's not the case. Van Damme has bet on himself, and Harrison Page has bet against him.
Yeah, that was a little unclear, but yeah, I'm with you. They could have cleared that up. But I think, yeah, overall, like, you kind of get the idea by the end. It's like, okay, yeah, Van Damme has his own money.
Yeah, I wish they would have handed him a fat stack after or something just to make it clear.
Here's a giant check.
Right. But Jordan, on an emotional level, man, that's like a dude cry moment where Harrison Page comes back to embrace Van Damme after the fight. And because Van Damme has won the fight, Harrison Page has lost everything. And Van Damme knows that Harrison Page has bet against him. And they have a big cry hug, Jordan, where Van Damme's like, I don't care, I love you anyway. It's amazing.
It is amazing. Yeah, I was really sold on the emotional side of this movie with the widow, with the little girl, with Paige. Like, all that was working really well. So great B story to the A story of him fighting in these rings and stuff. But yeah, thought it was a nice, well-rounded actioner with some heart. Lion with the heart of a lion. Lots of heart.
That's right. Oh, I should mention, too, because some film nerd is going to be like, yeah, you didn't mention the actor that played Attila is the brother of the actor who played Tong Po in Kickboxer, which you mentioned earlier. Yeah, so it's brother bad guys, okay. Moroccan-Belgian actors who played the villains in those movies. Yeah, and then he has won over the Foreign Legion agents. They're like, you know what, Van Damme? You go with your brother's widow. Let's just see what happens. Maybe send us back some video.
Well, yeah, they literally, like, drag him away bloody after the fight because they're there watching, and then drive him away, but then change their mind, let him out of the car. Then you get the classic, like, running up the hill, like he comes up over the horizon and hugs all the the widow and the little girl and Paige and everybody. It's just, classic cheese, but it's so good.
It is. Jordan, is it even possible to score this movie?
Oh, man. Let's see. For my 5 scale, I'd give it for sure like a 3.5 out of 5.
Damn. I thought I was going to give it a 6 on my scale, but the whole time I was talking about it, I was like, I really like this, like, a lot.
Yeah.
I would be disingenuous if I gave it a 6 out of 10. So I'm going to give it the same thing you did. Just doubled. It's a 7 out of 10 for me.
Hell yeah. Nice. Lots of heart in Lionheart.
That's right. But is there that much heart in Rocky V?
You beat him with heart, kid. You beat him with heart, not just with muscle. Yeah, I'd say there's just as much heart, if not more, in Rocky V. Let's go.
This should be interesting. So, we're coming from two different perspectives here. This has been my favorite film series for quite some time. Star Wars was my favorite thing. And, you know, Star Wars, but up until the Disney purchase, might still be my favorite thing. But Rocky, so many miracles in that franchise where it seemed like it was over, and then Stallone just came back and it was like, holy crap, how did you do this? Like Rocky Balboa is a miracle. I don't know how he was able to come back 16 years after the movie we're talking about now and make what I think is a near masterpiece. That movie's incredible that he came back and did that after 16 years. And then, like 12 years later, no, the sequel to Creed was 12 years later, like a decade later, was like, hey, let's do this again. I'll train someone else. We'll make a whole new series in it with Creed. And the first two Creed movies are really good too. So it's like I grew up watching all these Rocky movies and loving them. And then Rocky Balboa came along, and then Creed 1 and 2 came along. I'm not that high on Creed 3, and Stallone's not in that one, so it's not really a Rocky movie. But Jordan, this has always been the black sheep. Rocky 5, I've never like hated a Rocky movie, but Rocky 5 is the one where it's like, but not that one. Because, you know, the other movies, I love them so much. And this was always the one where it was like, Rocky 5. But you're coming at it from a different perspective. Like, you just watched Rocky 4 for the first time like a month ago.
Right. You know, obviously seen the first Rocky, and I told you before, I'm not sure if I ever fully watched Rocky 2 or Rocky 3, so obviously need to go back and complete this. I need to see Rocky Balboa. But yeah, I'm basically just fresh off of Rocky 4, which I really loved. Sent me on the Dolph Lundgren kick. I just got the Punisher VHS in the other day, so got to watch that. Think he's amazing in that. Stallone is amazing. And then with all your talk about Rocky 5, I had really low expectations to going into this. You know, just like, okay, it's the fifth installment. Like, how good can this really be? Obviously, it sounds like people kind of crap on this one. It's not great. Rocky doesn't really fight a whole lot in it. But man, I'll tell you, I actually really fell for this. I guess I'm just like a sucker a little bit for the melodrama and like the family drama type stuff. And then I like how going off of Rocky 4, bringing Rocky back to his roots, you know, back to an underdog in Philly. And yeah, they're doing something different. You know, he's not just like back in the ring again, because I feel like, you know, maybe after the heights of Rocky 4 with Drago, like, okay, you need to change it up and do something a little different. So, you know, here he's training his protege, Tommy the Machine Gun. He's got brain damage. He's trying to like fix everything with his family back in the old neighborhood. You know, his relationship with his son starts to fray because of all the attention he's showing to Tommy. So I don't know, man. I was watching this. I was just like, this is pretty damn good. I'm like really into this. I can't believe how much like people shit on this, but I was digging it.
I'm going to shit on it a little. It's still my least favorite Rocky movie. For sure. Nice. It is. Coming from someone who I used to watch these with my cousin Adrian, we would go to my grandmother's house, which this one in particular from the early 90s, the volume aesthetic of her gigantic ancient RCA television, this movie always makes me think of when Rocky goes down to the bar in this film by the bridge. But we used to take this green leather ottoman that she had and flip it over, and we would watch Rocky movies and just punch the hell out of that thing. Like, we would just punch it the whole time we were watching it. We'd take turns just going to town on it, punching it. And I'm going to punch this movie a little bit, but I don't hate it. I don't hate any Rocky movie, but it is definitely still my least favorite. I'm glad you liked it, though. So that's good. This won't be like a really negative episode.
Good. What are some things that you like about it first? Did this go up at all on revisit, or was it still just like the same old Rocky V, kind of a letdown?
It was kind of the same. I mean, I can't really follow that train of logic of going to positives first, because I just want to dive in. I got to dive into the beginning, because it's the beginning that really, for a lot of people, were just like, I'm done with this already. And that's, you know, with Rocky 4, you can't top that, obviously, on what happens. Rocky basically goes down to hell fights the devil and rips his heart out of his chest, right? I mean, like, you can't get more epic than that. He can't do anything greater than that. So it makes sense to say, like, okay, we gotta kind of scale it back to more of like a street story. We're going to take Rocky out of the ring, because you can't really fight someone in a more epic way than he fights Ivan Drago in that movie.
Right.
I understand that. But the way that the movie is just so bleak in the first 15 minutes, where it starts immediately where the last movie left off. Rocky is in the locker room, and he's got the cold sweats, and he's got the shakes. He's medically jacked up. And Duke, who I hate that there is a character named Duke in this movie that's not Duke, his trainer. Duke is his trainer's name, and there's a bad guy in this movie named Duke, and I just can't not help but think, why'd they do that? Like, he already has a trainer named Duke. I know that his name is Tony, but you call him Duke. So why'd they do that? And Duke has just like these few moments earlier in the movie, and then he's gone, which also bothers me because he's like my favorite character in these movies besides Rocky. And Duke is like, hey, Rocky, yeah, you did it. You're the best. And Rocky's like, yo, get Adrian. And Adrian comes, and he's like, oh, Adrian, you look like Mickey to me right now. Something's wrong with me. Like, he's all jacked up. He's obviously, like, not okay. So it takes a celebratory note out of the end of the fourth movie. Like, it just takes it out of that. So it's like, dang, well, that's kind of a downer. Like, the music is kind of dark.
That bothered you, that it would, like, took it down a notch from 4?
As like a series fan who grew up watching these in basically chronological order, yes.
Yeah. I can understand that, just because, like, Rocky 4 has, you know, such highs to it at the end. I typically don't like the recaps for movies like this, where it's like, oh, let me show you, like, a whole recap of the last movie. But I thought it worked well here, at least, like, showing how much Rocky got beat during his fight with Drago. And then showing, like, you know, okay, yeah, we had a victory, but kind of getting to the realism that this dives into is like, but he's literally jacked up because, like, this dude nearly destroyed him. And I don't know, I just appreciated that. There's like, okay, we're going to show you, like, the real after effects of, like, something so epic.
Yeah, but I mean, when you get to, like, Rocky Balboa and then, like, Stallone doing, like, more research into things, he found that he actually kind of misrepresented the kind of brain damage that Rocky had in this movie. So, like, he actually could have been later cleared to fight, and he wouldn't have been at risk of death if he got hit in the head again. So that's, like, not medically accurate. I mean, we're going medically accurate with the Rocky movies, he and Drago should have both died in the first 2 rounds of their fight. So it is what it is. I guess they can play fast and loose with that.
Yeah, I mean, part of me is like, oh, I appreciate the realism, but I also, like, don't quite care if it's medically inaccurate, because I'm just like, oh, that pushes the story along in, like, a meaningful way and gives it stakes and everything.
Yeah. It's tough because, you know, growing up watching the other movies, it's like, this is your hero, and he gets everything taken away from him here because he gets his ability to box, which is like his identity taken away. Then he gets, like, his ability to provide for his family and, like, be the man that he thinks he needs to be taken away. They get home, and Paulie messed up with their finances. Paulie, the most controversial character in the series. So now they have no money, so they have to move back to Philly, which that seemed kind of crazy because it's like, you just won the most epic fight in history. Like, you definitely could have got some endorsement deals. Like, you could have got some money. Like, that doesn't feel very realistic.
I mean, I think they talk about that too, where, like, they mentioned how he could do commercials and stuff, and does he kind of balk at that, I guess?
I mean, yeah, they do kind of like a throwaway line with that, or like they had to give some lip service there. But I mean, like, America's not going to let this happen to the man who single-handedly ended the Cold War, Jordan.
But for the sake of this movie, to bring him back to Philly, to make him an underdog again, I felt like it was a smart move. I mean, Stallone wrote this. I know the director here was John G. Avildsen. He did the first one. Was he director for 2, 3, or 4 at all?
No, so Stallone directed all of the sequels up until this one, and I actually think this film would have been better if Stallone himself had directed it. But he wanted to bring Avildsen back because he wanted to go back to the grittiness of the first film.
Yeah, which, again, I guess I'm just coming from a different perspective. I appreciated the grit here, you know, just the the urban blight and all the graffiti and, the Philly atmosphere was really potent. It felt like we were going back to Rocky 1. So I dug all that stuff.
It's either the stroke or just that we've been doing the show for 6 years that I waited and let you finish saying that before breaking in to say, but Jordan, it's silly. Like, the tone is kind of silly. Elwoodson had just done the 3 Karate Kid movies, and I love all 3 of them, but the third one is so campy and goofy. Elwoodson was starting to lose his hold on not making things, like, really silly and campy. He went right from that third Karate Kid movie into this. And I think that Stallone was thinking like, oh, you're the John G. Elwoodson who directed Rocky 14 years ago. And he wasn't thinking like, you're the John G. Elwoodson who just directed Ralph Macchio last year.
Right.
I do wish Stallone had directed this film. But at the same time, it's like, there was a even bleaker movie here that Stallone had in mind where Rocky dies at the end, which I'm glad that didn't happen because I obviously love Rocky Balboa in the first 2 Creed films and we wouldn't have those.
How would he die here? Like Tommy takes him out in the end or something?
So it would follow the line of thinking with the doctor said, if you take any more hits to the head, you'll die. And since he takes many hits to the head at the end of the film, he basically dies in an ambulance and the film would end with Adrian basically talking on television like, hey, Rocky died, but his spirit lives on. The end.
Right.
Which is horrible. I'm really glad that didn't happen.
I mean, I'm glad that didn't happen because you still have a triumph here. I kind of appreciate the willingness to go darker, I guess.
You liked all of that stuff, all the stuff at the beginning where I'm saying like it was too much to me. Like I could have taken some of that, but it's like too much. It's like, go a little easy on the guy. He just saved the world. I
mean, it is very melodramatic of just like, we lost everything, and we're back to this crummy neighborhood. And I mean, it sucks because you think about it. Yeah, he's like, this dude got just punched in the face over and over and over again to build up like to where he could provide for his family and have all this money and do well for his kid. And then, yeah, you're just back to nothing because of like some stupid accountant mistake, But again, yeah, melodramatic. I did dig it. Like, I didn't have a problem with any of that.
And I do like how the films after this take this location sort of where Rocky is in the city from this point on. Even though his fortunes get a little better than they are in this movie, obviously, he's still in the city. It still has more of that urban underdog feeling. It's not the Rocky from Rocky 3 and Rocky 4 who's just at the top of the world financially. Or like culturally. So I do dig that. I mean, there are great elements there. There's a lot in this movie I like. Like, I like him having to go back to Philly, like to the row houses. And so his son in real life, rest in peace, Sage Stallone, which for some reason I always thought that he OD'd or something. He died at the age of 36, but he had like a heart attack, man. He just freaking died, which, I mean, it just makes me think about how precious life is, and you just don't know when your time is, because obviously I've mentioned it every episode since it happened in January, but I had a stroke. I could have died a few months ago, and that just came out of nowhere. So man, life is short. So rest in peace, Sage Stallone. But I actually think he's all right here as Rocky's kid.
Yeah, I thought he was really good actually. I was trying to see like, was he in a lot of other things? Apparently he only acted like in 13 other roles, not a whole lot. Nothing else that I see that's like super notable.
His character is a major character in Rocky Balboa, but he was working on his own film at the time. So Milo Ventimiglia ended up playing the character in Rocky Balboa. So he doesn't reprise this role either, which is kind of like a thing. Like no one ever plays Rocky's kid more than once, except for Ventimiglia ends up playing him twice.
I thought Sage was really good here, like as the son, and then he's this kind of smart, rich kid that's thrown into Philly life, and he's got to go to this crime-ridden school and walks through like the chain-link fence cutaway, like, here's the front door, kid, and then just gets the shit kicked out of him by these bullies. But yeah, I was really rooting for him throughout this whole thing. Just like, yeah, man, learn how to fight, stand up for yourself, get your coat back from dumb mullet kid who took it in the beginning. try and get your dad's attention. He's not paying attention to you. He's all obsessed with Tommy, living vicariously through Tommy and everything. But yeah, I thought the son did really well. I enjoyed that whole arc with his character.
Yeah, there were parts I liked and parts I didn't about that arc. I liked him at school. I liked that, like, he makes friends with the little blonde girl who's got, like, the Philly attitude. I liked her character a lot. I thought that little actress did great. And I loved and found this true to life, actually, that when he eventually, like, fights back against the two bullies, they later become, like, his best friends along with the blonde girl. Which reminds me of when I went to Lakeland Elementary out here in Poinkaby Parish. There was a bully named Billy that would beat everyone up, and I got tired of watching it, so I beat Billy up. And then Billy became my best friend. It was great.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so that's kind of what happens. If your bully isn't a complete sociopath, he might become your best friend.
That's a weird fact of life, but I guess, I wondered about that in here. I was just like, why would he be friends with this guy? He's like, this kid's like such a jerk, but and then like Rocky's not really paying attention. So it's like, what kind of people is his son hanging out with? They're just like not even paying attention.
Right. And he makes a comment about how his dad starts smoking again near the beginning of the movie, but then he starts smoking with his buddies.
And he's got his earring dangling at some points too. Right.
Yeah. So all that stuff I enjoyed. And also I referenced an injury to myself earlier. This year, I don't know what this is, Jordan. I don't know what's going on. My wife asked for a divorce and I moved out to Poinkaby Parish again, which is fine. I love it out here. Okay. But then I have this stroke and it's like, all right, well, that's two things back to back in quick succession that are kind of nuts. Jordan, I broke a bone for the first time a couple weeks ago.
Oh, damn.
I broke my toe. So stupid.
Oh, that sucks, man.
So I can't do any awesome Van Damme kicks right now. I couldn't do them beforehand, but now I really can't.
Well, you can still box, right?
That's right. I can still hit. And speaking
just not kickbox.
Just not kickbox. No, I could be Stallone, but not Van Damme. Speaking of, Jordan, so the thing I didn't like was how overly obvious the neglecting your son storyline was in here with Rocky and Rocky Jr., where it's like every time he neglects him, it's such like an overly obvious, like melodramatic moment where it's like, Dad, look how cool, Dad. And his dad's with Tommy Gunn. He's like, yo, cool, kid, cool. All right, let me get back to Tommy now. Like, there's like 25 moments of that happening. It gets a bit ridiculous. I get like the idea of it, I'm fine with, but the execution of it, I'm not so fine with. I thought it was kind of goofy.
See, I was fine with the goofy melodrama of just like, it's just driving home the point. Like by the end of all that, I was just like, come on, Rocky, pay attention to your son, damn it. I was just like totally, bought in for young Rocky Jr. Just like, damn it.
Well, there's another personal connection I have with this Rocky movie, and it goes to who becomes the antagonist in this film. It's the person that Rocky is spending all his time with instead of his son, and that's Tommy Gunn, who's played by Tommy Morrison. This guy was actually a boxer at the time, and this was his first acting gig. Stallone thought, we should get someone who already knows how to box and teach him how to act, because that would be easier than teaching an actor how to box. How'd you think that Tommy Morrison did in this film, Jordan?
I thought he was serviceable. I didn't think he was bad. I didn't think he was necessarily great. There's, he has some standout moments, and obviously the boxing is very believable. We meet him like out on the street. Because there's multiple times where they're like him and his son or like him and Paulie are walking down the street and like there's random people that are like, hey, Rocky, what's up, man? Like, tough break, And then we meet this guy kind of in a wide shot and you're not quite sure, like, all right, maybe this is just some random guy. But then he hangs around when you mentioned earlier, the promoter guy, Duke, comes out and he's trying to like get him to fight Union Kane.
Right. He's like an obvious Don King stand-in.
Right. Just like really over the top, showboats everybody. But yeah, Tommy sticks around and obviously it's like, okay, this is going to become a central character. I thought he did well overall. Not the best acting, but he did what he needed to do. Didn't really get asked to do much other than like at the end get really prideful and angry, and I thought he sold that pretty well. Like just kind of this stupid schlub who like gets tricked by the Don King character.
Well, he does have that dinner scene where he moves in with Rocky's family and he gets asked about his father, where he does a pretty good job, where he has to say that his father beat him. And you can tell, like, his father caused him a lot of childhood trauma until he eventually beat up his father and I guess ran away.
Yeah, I thought he did well there. Like a more emotional, quiet moment for sure.
Right. So, Jordan, back during this time in history in 1990, I hated Tommy Morrison. I did not like him. I mean, for the classic reasons that you and I didn't like someone. He had straight blonde hair and all the girls liked him. He was an incredible boxer. He was very good. He was not one of my favorites. I had my favorite boxers and I didn't really dig him. He hit really, really hard and he was beating everyone. And he did this movie and he was the bad guy and I didn't like the movie there very much. And I was like, well, it's all his fault. So I hate him even more. But then, Jordan, some things in life happened that changed that. The first is that he fought a boxer called Ray Mercer the year after this. And I was watching that fight and he was undefeated going into this. And in the 5th round, apparently I wasn't the only person that didn't like him. The referee for this fight apparently didn't like him either because he allowed Ray Mercer to land a 15-punch combination on Morrison, where I feel like the last 10 punches, Morrison was unconscious and the ref just stood there and let Ray Mercer just keep hitting him. I don't know how Morrison didn't die. It's one of the worst things in sports I've ever seen. Well, the ref just stood there and just watched him, just maul him. It was horrible. And at that point, I was like, damn, that sucked. I actually feel bad for him. That was horrible. But then, Jordan, he got AIDS and died.
Oh, shit.
So then I felt really bad for him. And there's actually a really good ESPN 30 for 30 on his life that I really enjoyed. He came down with AIDS around 1996, and then he was like, it's all a bunch of lies. Like, the boxing commission just doesn't want me to fight. It's all a bunch of crap. I'm fine. And then he kind of vanished, and it was like, well, wait, was that really a bunch of crap? Like, did he really not have AIDS? But then he died of AIDS a few years later, and his mom was like, yeah, he had full-blown AIDS. Like, he had AIDS the whole time, and he died.
That sucks. It sucks to hear that. Yeah, it's an interesting trajectory where you're like, oh, he was a great boxer. He played this villain, but then later on in real life, became a more sympathetic character.
Yeah, for sure. And he's fine in this movie. I actually don't think he's bad.
No, yeah, I think he's decent. Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah, for what he's asked to do. And I mean, in the boxing scenes, because all the in the ring scenes go to him since Stallone is training him throughout the movie. He's like his protege. He's the one who fights Union Kane.
Yeah, and what I really love about that scene where he's fighting Union Kane and then Rocky's in the basement watching it on TV. You've got Rocky punching the bag as it cuts between Rocky punching the bag and then Tommy in the real fight, punching Kane. There's just so much energy in that edit, and you feel how much Rocky's living vicariously through this, even though he's kind of been sidestepped by Tommy at this point, and went on to be with the Don King character. But yeah, just Rocky's enthusiasm, and he's just like, do what I do, follow me. And he's punching the bag and shit. It's just so good. I love that part.
Yeah, I like that part, but there is something in that scene I don't like. First, I should mention, I forgot to say this when we're talking about Lionheart. Why is Van Damme always fighting jeans, especially in that movie? Jeans restrict your movement. I never understood that. I think that's just for, the chick factor.
Looks good, and because I guess he thinks his ass looks good in jeans or something.
And then the thing I don't like about the scene you just mentioned, I like all the things you said. But every pro in this movie has a con for me, and it involves Rocky Jr. I forgot to say this. When we do see his old room in their mansion in the one scene before they lose everything, the aquarium built into his wall is so nice. I wanted that so much when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Maybe one day. And I love how Rocky finds the drawing of his French teacher's boobs. That's amazing.
Right. That is amazing. Maybe you can show me your English teacher tomorrow. I love that he's like, oh, we shouldn't show this to your mom. She doesn't know a whole lot of French.
Oh, yeah, that was awesome. And then, man, it's so depressing whenever they lose everything. And he's sitting on his dad's motorcycle and the auction guy's like, get off the bike, kid. It's sold.
Get off the bike. It's sold at the auction. Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was pretty rough. But one thing I don't like about this scene is more where it's edited into the film and the pacing of the film, where right before this moment, you get a really heartfelt scene between Rocky and Rocky Jr., where Tommy the Machine Gun has betrayed him. He's like, Rocky, I don't care how much you've helped me. I want a title fight. You haven't got me there. We haven't got hardly any money out of this. I'm still living in your basement. This redheaded chick that I'm dating wants me to have money and I don't. And Duke said he can get me a title shot and money and a nice car and this redheaded chick. So I'm leaving.
And this redheaded chick just has big hooters, so I gotta fight for her.
Right. Does she even have a line?
What does the press guy say at the end where he's like, maybe you should fight the redhead in the front row? She's probably pretty cheap or something like that.
Yeah. That was weird.
Yeah.
She was weird. Anyway, yeah, so you get this moment where Rocky's like, man, I messed up. And he has really a great scene with Adrian where she tells him the famous line, you didn't beat those guys because you're strong. You beat them with your heart. Like, you're the best because of your heart, which is a great scene. And she's like, you need to pay attention to your family and your son. Like, forget glory and money and all that. I don't care about that. We don't care about that. Like, you just need to focus on your family. And then he has this.
I love that scene. Yeah, it was really, really moving. Good stuff.
Yeah, really great scene. And then he has the scene with Rocky Jr. where they make up. And honestly, there's an incredible, much better version of that in Rocky Balboa, where he gives probably the greatest movie speech ever to Rocky Jr. When my son made it to the big school spelling bee back when he was in third grade, and then lost in the first round because he misspelled an easy word. He just made a dumb mistake, and then cried and wanted to go home and not go back to school for the rest of the day. I brought him in the car and I forced him to watch the speech from Rocky Balboa and then forced him to go back to school for the rest of the day. It was awesome.
Nice. I'll have to go watch that.
Yes.
No, but I really dig
this
scene.
Wait.
Yeah, go
you get that scene, and you can say all the stuff you enjoy about it, but I just don't want to lose the thread of connection that you go straight from the scene where he's like, and we're going to spend a lot more time together again and be friends again. You go
now
straight
let me go watch
from
Tommy
that
on the TV.
Yeah, to him watching Tommy on the TV and his son sitting there watching.
Yeah.
So that was lousy.
Yeah, I mean, the sequencing there could have been better, or maybe they could have set it up to where, I don't know, you don't want the son disappointed at that point because you've already completed that arc, right? And yeah, the son's fine with it. Okay, dad's watching the big game. Obviously he needs to watch this or whatever. But yeah, I really do dig their makeup scene, how the bullies all leave and then they're just hanging out in front of this shop or bar or whatever, whatever it is, diner or something. And then, yeah, they have this heart to heart and, I'm gonna spend a lot more time with you, kid, and what's their little catchphrase?
Home team.
Yeah. Home team.
But yeah, I love that little catchphrase. Yeah, it's just a fun. Well, no, it's not fun. It's a really dramatic moment that they both sell really well, and then of course you have Rocky doing these dumb dad jokes throughout the movie, so he's got to throw one in here with a knock joke.
Hey kid, you want to hear a joke?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Tuna fish.
Tuna fish, who?
You can tune a piano, but you cannot tune a fish.
Ha, well, you're getting better.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But yeah, I really dig that scene. Again, thought young Stallone was really good there. But yeah, I'll give that to you. I think that's valid that the sequence right after that, it shouldn't have been oh, dad's watching Tommy on TV now.
Yeah, he's back to Tommy immediately. And you never really get a scene of him bonding with Rocky Jr. after that until the very last scene of the movie.
The very end. Yeah, you get that. At least you get that, right?
Right. Yeah, that's it. The very last moment. But to get to that moment, you have to have the fight scene where Tommy Gunn wins the belt, but everyone's booing him because he left Rocky, and everyone loves Rocky. Everyone in Philly loves Rocky. And they boo Tommy Gunn, and he's like, man, I want everyone to love me. Why do they love Rocky? I need to fight Rocky. And Duke is like, yeah, you do need to fight Rocky. And Tommy Gunn's like, but I need to, not in the ring, like right now. So he goes to Rocky's neighborhood bar where Rocky's hanging out with Paulie. Paulie's his brother-in-law, who's a drunk who tries to ruin Rocky's life and is generally unpleasant most of the time. But, you know, he's played by Burt Young, so they keep him around. And the pinball machines, man, I love the pinball machines in this bar.
Yeah, that is nice. Nice touch.
Yeah, Rocky's in there playing pinball, minding his own business. And then Tommy Gunn busts in and starts yelling that he wants to fight Rocky. And Paulie actually kind of steps up and is a man here. He's like, hey, you're a bum. And then he kind of puts his hand on Tommy, and Tommy decks him. And then, you know, Rocky's like, hey, you want to hit him? Why don't you hit me? You know, and then...
Right. Wait, you saying you don't dig all this?
No, I love all this. The last 15 minutes of this movie is golden. Like this because I think Adrian and I both, I don't want to speak for him, but that's who I first watched these movies with and who I've watched all these movies the most with. I think he and I both were kind of disappointed with a lot that happened in the movie. I don't know if he was as much as me, but the last 15 minutes of this, we're totally locked in. Like, we could quote all of the last 15 minutes, especially all of Duke's lines, because he had some pretty good ones. But no, I'm totally in on the last 15 minutes of this movie. I love them.
Sweet. Okay. Well, I was worried there for a minute, but yeah, I dig all this. I dig that they have a street fight at the end, and it's not just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna face you in the ring, and we get like another boxing fight. But it's like, okay, we're like slamming each other into dumpsters and trash cans and through the alleyway and shit. So I thought all that was great.
Yeah, I think this is where the whole we need to try something a little different and get back to the streets thing like works the best in the entire movie. I think this is what they're going for, you know, like, and he gets warned, Tommy gets warned, like, Rocky's a street fighter, man. You want to fight him in the streets. But he does, and he pays the price for it. Rocky beats him up pretty quickly, but then he gets up, you know, he's a young guy, he's bigger and stronger than Rocky, like most of Rocky's opponents were, and he beats Rocky up, and Rocky gets knocked to the ground, and he has this vision, and he sees Mickey, and Burgess Meredith comes back as Mickey, which he wasn't in the fourth movie, because his character was deceased before that, but, God, man, we love the part where he's like, get up, you son of a bitch, because Mickey loves you. So good.
I love it. And they had the flashback scene earlier in the film, too, where we get more Mickey when Rocky first goes into the beat-up gym, like Mickey's gym or whatever, and they have those black and white flashbacks. Now, I was going to ask you, are those flashbacks like new footage, or is that stuff recycled from...
That is new footage.
Okay. I thought it was new footage here. Sure.
Yeah, a lot of the footage here of Burgess Meredith is new footage they shot for this movie, and there's more stuff they shot. And then part of the plot is that he is training people in Mickey's old gym. So that, like, this vision of Mickey he has earlier that you referenced, where it's about these golden cufflinks that he got from Rocky Marciano, who's an incredible boxer back in the day. He gives them the Rocky, and they mean a lot to him, and that inspires Rocky thinking about that to open the gym and kind of gives him a new lease on his life there in inner city Philly. But one of the main things with these is that he wants to give them to Tommy Gunn, and Adrian's like, you gave him enough already, and he ends up giving them to Rocky Jr., thankfully.
Yes, thankfully. I mean, I like that whole Christmas scene, like in their house. It's just like, again, back to the grittiness of the Philly atmosphere and like this rundown neighborhood. And you've got like their crappy little Christmas tree and, you know, watching TV in the basement and Paulie's drinking everything. It just feels really lived in, and they're waiting for Tommy to show up and he doesn't show up, and he's talking about trying to give him the cufflinks and stuff. So yeah, I dug all that, and I'm glad that they set up the cufflinks in the flashback with Mickey and then bring it on down to Tommy becoming the villain, and then Rocky Jr. getting the cufflinks in the end. I thought, you know, all that's like pretty sharp writing. I thought that was well done. It felt like a natural transition too, to have Tommy become the villain and like kind of be money hungry and kind of duped by the Don King Duke character. So like, I felt like all that was, you know, handled well and felt pretty natural. It didn't feel like too stereotypical or shoehorned.
Yeah. And an interesting thing is that there's actually a work print of this film that you can watch on YouTube. It's never been, there's not like a disc version of this or a proper version that's been remastered, but it's on YouTube, and I've watched a good bit of it. And there's a totally different part here where Mickey is actually watching the fight, like his ghost is, and he yells to Rocky instead of,
I didn't hear no bell! Get up, you son of a bitch! Mickey loves you.
he yells, beat the shit out of him!
I love it.
But there are a few touches in the fight I kind of wish they had kept in. It doesn't completely de-villainize Tommy Gunn, but Rocky has like a lot more sympathy for him. Like he's like, hey kid, like I got nothing to lose. You got everything to lose. I'm gonna win. Like let's just stop. And then at the end, after he gets pepped up by Ghost Mickey, he beats the crap out of Tommy Gunn. It's pretty awesome when he decks him in the truck at the end. But he goes and reaches out his hand and they shake hands and kind of make up. And then one of the policemen who comes to pick up Tommy asks for his autograph, and Rocky smiles like, hey, look, this kid's going to be okay. So that's all only in the working print. But I still dig what's in the theatrical cut of the movie, where they have the street fight. You got a flaming trash cans nearby. I love when the fight starts. This is something I always love in movies where there's like a hometown hero. You get this in Spider-Man 2 and the train scene where he's fighting Doc Ock, where the people who live there love the hero so much, they're trying to get in on the action to protect him. Where people are trying to step in front of Rocky.
And Tommy just starts decking him.
Yes, it's so awesome. They're like, hey, you're not going to hit Rocky.
Right.
But he just beats
That's pretty
the ball.
funny. I did dig that, not in like a humorous way, but just thinking about it now, like this just big ass boxer just decking these dudes and them going down.
Yeah, they were gonna they gave it all for Rocky. Their hero is awesome. Philly's hero.
Some of that work print stuff you mentioned, I really dig that actually, like showing a little bit more sympathy for Tommy from Rocky and them making up. Like I wouldn't have minded that being in the film, but I like it as it is too, so I think it works either way.
Yeah, it's a fun scene. I love the crowd. You got like this huge crowd in the streets watching it. You got the Duke character who is not enjoying what he's watching.
It's all being televised. We should mention that.
Right. There's a video camera filming all of it. So Rocky Jr. and Adrian see it on TV and then run to get there. And then they're cheering Rocky on. Adrian's not like, stop. If you get hit, the doctor said you'll die. She's like, yeah, Rocky, get him. It's great. Right. She really hates Tommy
She
Gunn.
just hates Tommy. Like,
the whole movie.
Son of a bitch been living in my house, like squatting in my house,
Right. She never wanted him there in the first place.
Right. You gave him too much already.
Yeah.
No, I love it, man. I love this final scene. It's so good. Like you were talking about sitting on the couch, like punching it while you were watching this. Like that's exactly what I was doing while I was watching this earlier today. I was just like, get him. Yeah. Oh.
They tried to incorporate the hip hop music into this movie. And man, Rocky IV, the soundtrack is so 80s, but it has a timeless factor to it where you can listen to it now and get pumped up. The hip hop stuff they went for in Rocky V, not so much. But in the fight scene here, I don't mind it. It fits. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good here.
I thought it was fun. Like I didn't mind it. I was just like, oh yeah, 1990, like early hip hop. This is cool. Nice throwback. You're in the streets, like in Philly and stuff. I thought it was fun, so I dug it.
Yeah, the only Rocky movie the 90s got. Yes, you get this very fun street fight that I think even the grinchiest of Rocky fans will enjoy. I think pretty much most Rocky fans have similar opinions. You have ones that have like some really weird ones. Like there are people that swear that Rocky 3 is the best, which I love Rocky 3. But I mean, to think that that's the best one is a really special opinion.
Do you think there's anybody out there that thinks Rocky 5 is the best?
Oh, I'm sure that there's always somebody, Jordan.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be you by the end of it.
I don't know, man. Rocky, I love Rocky 4, and I really enjoyed this. Like, so to me, they're almost kind of neck and neck.
Yeah.
And I know that probably just sounds batshit to you.
It does.
I mean, Rocky 4 has like so much more epic scale to it, and you have Drago, so
Yeah.
and that fight is insane, and there's just so much like blood pumping in me by the end of that. Just like, I mean, the way I was like punching at the screen watching him fight Tommy, I'm sure it was like times 10 watching him fight Lundgren. So I mean, it has more to it for sure. I definitely would have to rate it higher than this, but I don't know, man. I just really enjoyed this a lot. I like that it went in a different direction.
That's awesome. Yeah, for me, it's 1 and then 4. I would say those are my 2 favorites, and I'd put 1 a little above 4.
What's your favorite stupid dad joke that Rocky gives in this, or magic trick? He's like pulling stuff out of his kid's ear like every 5 minutes.
Yeah, the pulling the lunch money out of his ear. It's not that it's great. It's that he just does it over and over and over again, and he never stops. He's still pulling stuff out of his ear in the final scene, which after this, he and his son run the steps up to his famous statue, which he has a great line there. Actually, maybe that's my favorite dad joke of here, where you get the great Rocky humility, where even though he's such a great hero, when they see a statue, he's like, Pigeons is always going to have a place to sit.
Right. And then his kids, like, they're going into the art museum, and he's like, yeah, I think you'll really love Picasso. And he's like, oh yeah, I love most everybody. It's really like the last line of the movie. She's like, oh yeah, Rocky is just like a dumb schlub, but you gotta love him.
I love, too, like, the very early 90s fonts on the art advertisements in the background.
Right, yeah.
Pretty great. Yeah, so that's it. He beats Tommy Gunn in the streets, so he kind of gets his swagger back. He's like, I still got it, even if I can't fight in the ring, but he will again in 16 years. He runs up the steps. He finally has that bonding moment with his son that I had been waiting for since the moment 30 minutes earlier when he told his son they would have more time together. They finally do have more time together in this scene, and then that's it. The movie is over, Jordan.
Well, do you think that final moment would have been better, like, after he makes up with his son?
I kind of wonder, because the ending seemed like it went through so many different permutations, particularly with Rocky dying in their earlier draft. Maybe that scene was earlier, and then they're like, oh, we need an ending there. I don't know. I feel like you needed some kind of scene of them bonding before you get right back to Rocky being all about Tommy again.
Yeah, they could have used like a different, smaller scene there, but I do like that it ends with them outside of the museum. It doesn't drag on or anything. It's just like, oh yeah, we're going in here and there's the statue and all right, movie's over. Because honestly, when it went to that scene after the big fight, like I thought it was just going to freeze frame on the family as they walk away from the big fight, which you would see in a Van Damme movie or any other action movie from this time.
Right, yeah.
But they did, and I was like, oh, that would have been a cool ending, but then they kept going with the sun stuff, and I was like, oh, wait, how long is this going to keep going? I hope it doesn't go too long, and I'm glad it didn't, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe they could have just stuck that scene earlier after he makes up with old Rocky Jr.
I don't know, man. I should mention, too, they brought back Bill Conti to do the music here. After he took a little break from Rocky IV, he didn't do the soundtrack for that one, but he's back here, even though it's not my favorite. Actually, there's not an officially released music orchestrated soundtrack for this. I had to seek it from other sources, and it's still not my favorite, but
for your soundtrack collection.
I'm a completionist, so I had to have it.
That reminds me that though I really did love Lionheart, I thought the music in that was just god-awful.
Oh, man, I kind of dug it. I like that they got some jazzy stuff in there, and I liked his symphonic theme, because you may have known this, but apparently when they were making Lionheart, movies like that were generally considered schlock, and they were just going to have a synthetic score, and when the executive watched it, they were like, wait, this is actually really good. Here's $250,000. Go record a symphony score for this. And I liked it. I liked the score.
I didn't mind the jazz stuff and some of the other stuff, but yeah, I think it was like early on in the Legionnaire scenes, especially, where it was just like over the top and went like too hard and just felt goofy.
I know they did use a temp score for parts of it.
So that might have been it.
Who knows? Who knows? Well, Jordan, anything else to say about Rocky V?
Rocky V, can't quite give it a 5 out of 5 as much as I dug it. I can't really say there's much that I didn't like about this. I was just kind of with it all the way. I'd give it a solid 3.5 out of 5, 4 maybe.
Gotcha. Well, we've been on the same page a lot this year, but we're not this time. I love the character of Rocky. I don't like the violent tonal change at the beginning of this film and how much it kind of bends belief that he falls on that bad of fortune. The melodramatic stuff in the movie, particularly in how they suddenly make Rocky a bad dad and focusing on Tommy Gunn, I feel like that could have been handled with a little more subtlety. The pacing of the film is a little weird for me. The music and other elements feel strangely dated, where all of the other movies in the series feel timeless, even if they're of their time. This is definitely my least favorite film in the series. I do love the last 15 minutes. I do think there are a lot of merits. I do like the return to inner city Philly. I do like the attempt to return to the grittiness and the idea of that. I think the acting here is good. I don't think anyone is bad, even Tommy Morrison showing up to act for the first time. And I mean, I love Stallone as Rocky. I don't think that he does wrong by the character, even though he himself gave this movie a 0 out of 10 and wishes he didn't make it.
Oh, Jesus.
And admitted he only did it for the $50 million payday and made Rocky Balboa in 2006 as a mea culpa for making Rocky V.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to make up for it. And you know what? I'm not going to give it a 0. I'll give it exactly what it is out of 10. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10.
All right. A Rocky 5 out of 10.
That's right. Nice. I do think it has its merits, but it's definitely, for me, the weakest entry in this franchise.
Well, movie connection, I've got a few here. What do you got to connect this to our last film, Gremlins 2?
Well, you may have this connection already. My easy, simple connection is obviously that Gizmo in Gremlins 2 is watching Stallone at the beginning of that movie, which I don't think we mentioned.
I think we mentioned it briefly, yeah.
Yeah, in that opening scene, he's watching Rambo, which is Stallone's other big character from that time period, along with Rocky, and he emulates Rambo later in the movie when he just gets pushed too far. They pushed him too far. And we go straight from Gremlins 2, where he's emulating Stallone, to Rocky himself, played by Stallone.
Nice. I'm glad you brought out that connection, because honestly, I totally forgot about that, even though that's the most obvious thing. But my connection was, so at one point you have Rocky Jr. when he's like training in Mickey's gym, he's doing some push-ups, and we see he's wearing a Batman t-shirt, which, you know, the 1989 Batman had just come out right before this. And of course, we talked about the Bat Gremlin and the Bat signal that he leaves in the wall when he busts through the wall in Gremlins 2. So that was fun. You also have lots of mention of urban blight, as I discussed, and Rocky restoring Mickey's boxing gym. So on the flip side of that, we have the Asian shop where Gizmo is from gets bulldozed. It's kind of, I guess, an urban blight situation there where they're trying to revitalize parts of the city. And then the last thing was the deception. So we have the Don King character with Duke deceiving Tommy Gunn. And then we also have the googly-eyed gremlin deceiving Phoebe Cates when she mistakes him for Gizmo and brings him back to her apartment.
How did she think that was Gizmo?
I guess they're the same color and she hadn't seen him in a while.
He's so dumb.
Yeah, he's really dumb. Googly-eyed gremlin. A gremlin with no other purpose than to be dumb as fuck.
Exactly.
It's done. I love it. It's in the movie next.
Oh, that sketch is never going to get old.
Never. So good. I definitely went back and rewatched that after our episode.
Key and Peele need to do a comeback season.
That'd be nice.
Why not? I know they're doing other things, but I don't know. Just personally, I've kind of felt like Peele, every movie is a little worse than the last. I feel like he should take a break from making movies and...
Yeah, just go back to sketch comedy.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. Well, are you with me? Are you ready for the trivia battle?
Pop quiz, asshole.
Yes, I am, Jordan. Leading into your picks, which I don't know what they are, all my questions are based around Burgess Meredith. So these are all movies that Burgess Meredith is in that I have seen. I made that a rule. I had to have seen these movies I'm asking you about.
Nice. Well, all my questions today are going to be about Van Damme, and specifically Van Damme quotes. So I'm going to give you a quote from one of his movies, and then you have to tell me what movie it was.
No. No one's catalog runs together like Van Damme's.
I know, like, these quotes could be from any movie, it is, honestly.
Yeah, and basically all of his movies I haven't watched since the 90s, so it's going to be tough. All right. This lousy 1978 horror film somehow also stars Tony Curtis. Is it A, The Entity, B, The Manitou, C, The Prophecy, or D, Grizzly?
Was it The Manitou?
Yeah, it's The Manitou. That's how you say it. That movie sucked, though. Man, it was stupid.
I heard a podcast once about The Manitou, which had me intrigued, but I've never actually watched that movie.
Were they trying to say, like, oh, actually, it's not that bad. It's pretty good. It's not pretty good. It sucks. It's not good.
No, it was basically just like making fun of how ridiculous it is, basically.
It's terrible. I wish I could get that 2 hours back. Tony Curtis and Burgess Meredith deserve better.
Nice. All right. First question, or my first quote, I should say. So I'm going to give you the character's name, Alex Wagner. And what he says is, I hear all sorts of bullshit every day, pal. You want some advice? Take your fancy clothes and your black silk underwear and go back to Disneyland. How was my Van Damme impersonation there?
That was pretty good.
All right. Felt like I'd slipped into some Arnie territory.
Belgium, Austria, what's the difference?
Is the movie that this quote is from, is it from A, Double Impact, B, Double Team, C, Street Fighter, or D, Kickboxer?
Double Impact.
It was Double Impact. Good job.
Yeah, I remember that.
Nice.
This 1969 Western ensemble co-stars Gregory Peck, Omar Sharif, Telly Savalas, Ted Cassidy, Camilla Sparv, and Julie Newmar in lead roles. Is it A, McKenna's Gold, B, The Guns of Navarone, C, The Gunfighter, or D, Old Gringo?
All right. And you said it's a Western?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not Guns of Navarone. Was it The Gunfighter?
It was McKenna's Gold, which
damn.
is not great.
Okay.
I think I like it better than like the critical consensus, but not great.
All right. Next quote. So we have one character saying, our defenses are locked onto you. Identify yourself. And then Van Damme's character says, this is the collection agency. Your ass is 6 months overdue, and it's mine. So is that from Street Fighter, Knockoff, Sudden Death, Death Warrant, or Minions?
Is that from Street Fighter?
That is. It is from Street Fighter.
Man,
Nice.
I remember Van Damme stuff better than I thought. Weird.
Yeah, that's him talking to Bison, played by Raul Julia.
All right, you got to get this one right to stay alive.
Okay.
1981's Clash of the Titans is a ton of fun. I haven't seen it in a while, though. And it was directed by, was it A, Desmond Davis, B, Ray Harryhausen, C, Harry Hamlin, or D, Nicholas Meyer?
I know Harryhausen did the stop motion stuff for it. Did he also direct it?
Incorrect. It was Desmond Davis.
Okay.
Have you seen that?
It's been a long time, but I probably saw parts of it on TV.
The girl butt that I didn't get from Lionheart is in this movie when the girl takes the ritual bath at the end, and it's like, what? There's an ass. What? Like, where'd that come from? This wasn't that kind of movie.
Nice.
I remember watching when I was younger, and I was like, whoa.
Wait, what? All right. So next quote for you. Simple enough. The quote is, you're discharged, Sarge. And is that from A, Cyborg, B, Death Warrant, C, Sudden Death, D, Universal Soldier, or E, Minions?
Is it Universal Soldier?
It was.
There we
Thought
go.
that would probably be a pretty easy one.
Yeah.
I keep bringing up Minions because apparently John Claude did the voice of John Claude, Clawed, in Minions.
Oh, man. Oh, that's strange.
That is weird.
Well, I won. I had 2 more questions, and I'm just not going to ask them.
Okay.
I will say, do you know what Burgess Meredith's last movie was?
What are the options?
It was Grumpier Old Men. I just want to say that.
Oh,
that was
weird.
his last movie, which is nuts because he dies in the movie.
I guess that makes sense because he was probably a grumpy old man by that point.
Yeah. Also, hey, JCVD, have you ever seen that?
I did not.
From 2008. If you want to see Van Damme really show his acting chops to where me saying he's a better actor than Arnie doesn't seem so ridiculous, that's not an action film. He does have 2 very brief action cues, but it's a serious movie starring Van Damme. It's partly autobiographical, and he's great in it. Like, his acting, he's speaking like his language, so he's not having to speak in English.
Okay.
I guess that in Belgium, do they speak Belgium? It's whatever his home tongue is.
Yeah.
He's quite good in it. It's French.
Okay.
French is what they speak in Belgium, I think. And he's great in JCVD. It's a huge downer, though. But if you're a Van Damme fan and you want to see him really act, he's really good in that movie. I needed to say that.
I have heard a lot of good things about JCVD. Is he playing himself in that, or?
Yes.
So like a meta kind of thing?
It is. It's a very meta movie. And there's like a part where he does the 6-minute monologue where he just looks at the camera. He breaks the fourth wall. And it's so depressing, but he's so good. No. He's just talking about his life, like all his failed marriages and his drug use and everything. It's insane. It's a downer. I watched it on my 29th birthday. And that's the only birthday I've ever cried or been really depressed. Which I'm 43 now, but on my 29th birthday, for whatever reason, I was feeling really sad about aging, and I made the mistake of watching that movie, which is a huge downer.
Man, well, I feel like I would be amiss if I didn't bring up Death Warrant, also from 1990. I doubt we'll do an episode on it this year, at least, since we've just did a Van Damme movie, but that one is a really outrageous, like, ridiculous movie where JCVD has to infiltrate this prison and he fights this guy, the Sandman. He gets thrown into a cell with this guy. And one of my quotes was going to be from this moment where basically to get a bed in his cell, the cellmate he's with is like, you either pay up or you punk, basically have to do some sexual favors. Van Damme quickly takes the knife out of his hand and disarms him and beats the crap out of him and says, I don't pay, I don't punk. Just so
it's so
ridiculous
good.
Also.
I enjoy that one too. I feel like, how have I watched all these movies? It must be on TBS. I watched a lot of TBS in the early 90s. Yeah, so many, they loved them some Van Damme movies. It was like Jaws or Van Damme, basically.
Yeah, I have a sweet memory of when I was visiting my buddy Logan out in Los Angeles a few years ago. We were just hanging out in his tiny little apartment. He's like, let's watch a movie. So we put on Death Warrant, and I had never seen it before. And we were just cracking up at how ridiculous and over the top it was.
It's so
that
over
was
the
a lot
top.
of fun.
Yeah, a ton of fun. I really liked Cynthia Gibbon it back in the day, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, so good props to another Van Damme there. I was tempted to go with Van Damme and Death Warrant from my next pick. I was like, oh, maybe I'd just keep going with him. But now I'm going to veer into the sci-fi world here. And for the punishment, punishing myself, picking a kind of obscure movie that I have discovered on VHS. So collecting VHS for the movies that we pick here and just, diving into that crazy world of B movies, usually discovering some stuff that, it's kind of off the beaten path, but I think this will go nicely with my main pick, which you'll see in a minute. So this movie is 1990's Circuitry Man.
Circuitry Man.
Circuitry Man, which go look up the cover of this movie. It's basically a guy who looks very similar to John Lithgow, bald head, and he's got different ports and knobs sticking out of his head and a weird cable coming out of his head wrapping around a woman. And the cover says, "The final frontier is not outer space. It is the human mind. Plug in." And apparently this has got poisoned air, subterranean cities, and mutant leeches that comprise the world of Circuitry Man. A world where computer chips are the drug of choice for a new generation of programmable humans. And a war is waged in the electronic imaginations of the combatants.
Wow.
So it's a toxic near future of Circuitry Man. But yeah, I won't go into more of the plot. You'll just have to watch it. Apparently it's on Tubi, so for those following along, you can watch this random weirdo movie on Tubi. So since I have man in the title for that, I thought it would pair nicely with my main pick, which is going to be 1990's Sam Raimi movie, Darkman.
Oh, I can cross this off my list, Jordan. You just opened up a slot for me.
Nice. So I plan on watching Darkman, which, again, I feel like I've only seen like pieces of this on TV.
Me too. I've never seen the whole thing.
Oh, nice. This has got Larry Drake. It's got Frances McDormand. So looking forward to those people. Sam Raimi, of course. Liam Neeson as Dr. Peyton Westlake, who becomes Darkman. I do have the VHS of Darkman 2, The Return of Durant. So I don't think we're probably ever going to have a main episode on that 90s movie. So I figured I'll watch that and we can talk about that too. So there you go. Circuitry Man, Darkman, and Darkman 2. Next episode.
Amazing.
Sweet. I'm curious though, you were going to pick Darkman. Did you have a punishment lined up for that one?
I did not, but I don't know if it could be better than Circuitry Man, which I see also has a sequel titled Plughead Rewired Circuitry Man 2. And Tracy Lords is in it. Wow.
Oh, nice. Yeah, apparently, maybe we have to watch both movies, like the first Circuitry Man and the second Circuitry Man and the first and second Darkman. Just have a quadruple feature.
Go for it.
Sure, why not? I mean, yeah, Plughead is apparently the name of the villain. The sadistic Plughead, who's a human appliance.
Oh, he's played by Vernon Wells.
Oh, nice. From Commando fame?
Yeah, Bennett from Commando and Wes from Mad Max 2. Lord General from Weird Science.
There you go.
He is in MacGyver in multiple roles. Yeah.
Sweet. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, now I am.
Awesome. Well, everybody, that's our show. Thanks for listening. Send us an email, filmshakepodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you think of the show. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook at 90s Movies Pod. And we'll catch you next time for more Film Shake.
Take it easy.
You're bringing Rocky back to his roots where he's, lost everything. He's an underdog in Chicago again. And so they do
Philadelphia.
something,
Philly.
Oh, Philly. I'm sorry. I don't know why I was thinking Chicago. Philadelphia. Philly, yeah. City of Brotherly Love.
There you go.
Yeah, okay. So I can redo that so I don't sound like a dumbass.
I don't know. Well, punch me until I have brain damage so I can train some bum. Well, punch me until I have brain damage so I can train some bum.